Saturday to this wonderful country of ours, the U.S. of A. 250 years ago on the 4th, which is Saturday, all the signers of the Continental Congress, they signed the Declaration of Independence. And when they did this, they really put their life on the line, because that was treason with Great Britain. So at that time, the numbers say that 35% of the population was patriots, 20% were loyalists. That meant they owed their allegiance to King George, and all the other 70% were sitting on the fence. And there were 2.5 million people there. So before we get going, I think we have to do the Pledge of Allegiance. So could everybody stand then? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America,
and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I wanted to explain a little bit about the flags.
No, I'm good.
The big flag up here, that was on the casket of a World War I veteran, which was Ann's uncle. And there are 50 stars there, 50 stars for each of the states, and there are 13 stripes because of the 13 original colonies. And Chris, you're going to have to tell me about this one. I don't know where this flag came from. Is Chris here? All right, we'll let that one pass. Over here, the ones hanging up, the one is the flag we just spoke about, the 50 stars and the 13 stripes. The one next to it is what they call the Betsy Ross flag. That has 13 stars for the 13 original colonies. Then way in the back, we have one there that has only 48 stars on it. And that flew over the national capitol in 1983. And one of the senators had that up there, one of our senators from Pennsylvania, and it was for the old community days. So that's why that has 48 stars. So shortly after that, Alaska and Hawaii were omitted. Oh, let's get this guy going here. So 58 years after the Declaration of Independence was signed, the first settlers came to Genesee. That was about 1835. And there was a John Billings in Ellisburg, and a Samuel and Charity Hurd, and a Theophilus, I can't pronounce that name, Easton. So there were some of the early pioneers that came here. And what happened is a gentleman named Bingham, he bought some 240,000 acres from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, somewhere in the late 1700s, early 1800s. And then he created a land office, and he sold the land off. So we have Bingham Center, West Bingham, and all that. That's because he's the original guy that owned all the lands. If anybody has questions, raise their hand, and if I can see them, holler out, and we can certainly do questions as they come. In 1907, the Genesee Forks, as that's what Genesee was called, they had all these businesses then. It was quite a booming town. But they had 2 doctors, 2 railroads, a magnetic healer, a dry goods store, 2 hardware stores, drug store, produce buyers, and they had millinery stores. The millinery stores were where the gals got their hats. And what we're going to see in some of these pictures are the beautiful hats. They're all black and white. The ladies had, they were pretty amazing. So Genesee Ports was a large shipping point also. It had a lot of gas. Up in Irish settlement, they discovered gas quite early, and that was piped down to Genesee. I think that was about 1845. Genesee had gas. And we had a lot of good water. There was a brick plant across the flats from where Russell Burroughs' place is. We had a sawmill down here in the park. We had an awful lot of industry starting up then. This is William Eaton. William Eaton is the gentleman that had the sawmill in the park, and he supplied the wood for the model of the old hotel you see over here. And come up and take a look at it. It was put together by Richard Eaton, who I think is the grandson of that chap. And the top is off because the third floor is where they held all the dances. Some of you may have gone to bingo there. Did anybody go to bingo at the fire hall? Some people did, yeah. It was a busy place. So
Lot
this
of smoke.
is William Eaton. We had a magnetic
morning was
dealer.
horrible.
That was a gentleman named Mulford, and he had the place on the south side of Main Street by the river where the Ryman house used to be. So this house used to be there before that. He was a magnetic healer. And I think it's about to say today we still have those on TV. The people have the wrists and the knee pads, and so the magnetism must help. I don't know if you try it, maybe you have to try the magnets. This is the condensing plant, another big business. This was in business from about 1922 to 1936. And right now, this is what everybody sees, is the big stack. But this was a large operation. They brought the milk in from all the surrounding areas. They condensed it and they put it in cans and it was shipped out. We have some maps over here, the memorabilia tables, and this is a portion of one of the maps. A company called Sanborn made the maps, and Sanborn, they had a lot of insurance under their wing also. So they made this map mainly for the firemen, so they knew where the gas appliances were. And when you see a purple building, that's a brick building, and the yellow is framed. So most of the houses in Genesee at that time were framed, and there were an awful lot of fires. That's 1912, 1915, a lot of the town just burnt down. And I believe it's because they heated with, I think, coal. I think coal was the main heat. I don't know if they did gas at that time. Gas they had for some street lights. And this is Main Street here. This is the thrift shop right here, the Genesee Mall. And they call this Genesee Street. Now, what do we call it? River Road? It's River Road. Over here is Mark Eller's place over here. And where you see these big black lines, that means it's another map. So this is one map of one area, and this is another area, and this is another map. So what you see here is this is the branch line of the New York and Pennsylvania Railroad, and they had a produce depot right here. And the produce stand, that's where they would ship out the string beans and the hay and the potatoes. They would load up right there on that siding. One of the other businesses was the post office. The first post office in Genesee was about 1845, and it was up on top of the hill. The hill going out of town was called the Easton Hill. So that's the Easton Hill, everybody. When you go up there, you go up Easton Hill. So the first post office was up there. And I'm not sure when this post office was built, but this picture is about 1911. And this is the post office, and later was moved across the street by the Palmetiers, and then it was fallen down and all, it was then just taken apart. And this is the McCarn House back here. So we'll see more about the McCarn House a little bit later. This is a picture showing the McCarn house the way it is, and the post office we saw, that was sitting right about here.
Thanks.
And this was the bank. The bank was built in 1905, 1910 in that time frame, and now it holds the library. So this is a shot of about 1912, and here's the bank, and back here is the post office, and the McCarn House must sit in the back. That's probably the roof of it. And the roads were all dirt. The roads were not hard-topped until 1926. So here we have a horse and a buggy, and I'm not sure that's the post office. I'm not sure this, I don't think this house is there. This, we're going to see, is the Easton Hardware, and this burnt down.
That's the unpleasant.
Pardon me?
The house you said you're not sure, that's the updike.
Okay. I didn't realize that. Thank you, Melvin.
That's the
Good.
uptake house.
About that time, about 1900, the postal department came out with postcards. They came out with 3 different versions of the postcards. The first one, they had, one side was the address, that's the only thing that was on it. And the flip side, they had a picture, and that's where you put the message. And the messages were short messages, much like what we do now with the phones when you send a text. So this was the modern version of a text that was just a quick way of getting the word out. And this is the flip side of that. This particular one went to Hornell, and it was 1906. So it was a penny to send a postcard. This is from another, and also what happened at that time is the cameras came to be pretty good. And we're going to see in a little bit more about the cameras, but the detail in some of these pictures is rather wonderful. This one is, here is Easton Hill in the back. So Ellisburg Road is right here. And here is the hardware store. We'll see more of that. And right in the middle here, you have a team of horses, and you have 2 gentlemen here. And I'm not sure if this was a snowplow or what. But the horses looked like they were watching a photographer. And this sign, I believe, says that's the McGinnis and Reed hardware store. That was the name of the hardware store then, McGinnis and Reed. So this is when the postcards came out with the message on the address side. This was about 1905. And this postcard was dated 1911. Interesting what the person writes here. Hello? We are like a drowned rat and like a mud turtle. Goodbye, I did not see Grandmom. So if everybody see Grandmom down here, S-E-A, Grandmom. And that went out to Brooklyn. So Brooklyn was down the way. I believe in those times going by horse and buggy took quite a while. And it was much better to send a postcard. I want to talk a little bit more about the businesses that were here. This is from the Sanborn maps that you see over there. The water facility, this map, they were done in 1924, and the map, the water company was generated about 1905. This is the Genesee Citizens Water Company. They had 2 different reservoirs. They had the Tulare Reservoir, which is back where the Bakers are, behind the Junior Baker's house. That was the Tulare Reservoir, and they said that had a capacity of 50,000 gallons, and it was 190 feet above the main street. For domestic purposes, it was up at Hickox. You can see skipping down here. That had a capacity of 25,000 gallons, and I think the daily usage was 20,000 gallons a day. So the pressure there, they say, was 45 or 95 pounds?
45.
45 pounds. So, and there's a picture up here. The oval picture is of Norman Chapman, the fellow over there to the left. Norman Chapman, he was the father of Guy Chapman. Guy Chapman was the second president of the bank in town, and he was also one of the founders of the Genesee Water Company. Is Adam Chapman here? Adam Chapman anywhere? Adam Chapman is the one that ID'd the person, and I think Adam is Guy's grandson. I think that's right, great-grandson.
Adam would have been Norman's grandson, because Adam's dad was G.F. Chapman.
Oh, Adam must be pretty old then.
No.
Back in 1905 to be the president, he had to be about 30. Well, anyway,
Great-granddad, probably.
something like that. Anyway, the fire department. The fire department had one company, 20 men and one chief. They had an assistant, and they had one hand hook and ladder, about 60 feet of ladders. They had one hands tarp with 500 feet of 2.5-inch hose. And they had no burrow limits. I think that meant they could go anywhere and put out a fire. In case of a fire, somebody had to go up to Academy Street and open the valves connecting the main lines to the Tiller fire reservoir up here behind Junior's. And that put a greater pressure out in the line to fight the fires. And we're going to see later that when they had a fire, they would notify the pet condensery, and they had an alarm they would put out. So the alarm came from the Tiller pet condensery. So these maps are over there. Take a peek at them. And this is a picture of Norman Chapman, Guy's father. Looking more about the companies, the money-making companies in town. This is the Genesee Chemical Company, and it sits over near the township building right now. And it was in existence during World War II, and it was very busy then. And it was the manufacturers of crude methane, acetate of lime, and charcoal. And the company they have, this is the screening shed, this is the charcoal dock, and these lines here, these are the railroad lines coming in. This is the B&S Railroad switch line, and that was Buffalo and Susquehanna. And they had lines over here and here. This was the charcoal warehouse, and this was the main line coming along the river from the B&S. And this is the Hickox Road up here. The first car in Genesee is this car, a gentleman by the name of Potter, and I could not find the make of this. Does this look like any car that somebody's familiar with any old people? Shane, you know old cars. What kind is it? No? I looked up, there were an awful lot of cars made in 1910. And what intrigued me was the narrow tires, thinking about the dirt roads and how well they did when they were muddy. So this is the first car in Genesee. With the railroads came a lot of patrons because the railroads did not go very fast. So if you were going to take a trip on the train, it probably took you several days, unless you're going Genesee to Ellisburg. And this is the Genesee House, which the motto is here, and that sat right outside here where all the stone is. And this is, I think, 1905, because there's a little bit later picture here, and this has the horse and buggy here, and we have a gentleman here minding the horse. And what they added on the saloon, or the bar. They made the bar separate from the building, so the noise anybody in here generated would not wake up the patrons in the hotel. And I think if you use your imagination, it looked really good. Mm-hmm. Don't you think he's sitting at the bar?
Looks like it.
And he has a white shirt on, and there's a band around that.
Yep.
I have a good imagination, don't I?
That became the barber shop, right?
Yeah, no, that's the bar then. Later on, Will Manning had that as a barber shop.
Yeah.
So this is from a postcard, and this is the picture of the Genesee House in 1990. So this shows the barber pole is here. That's when Will had it. So the fire company bought this, and they owned it for quite a few years. And we mentioned they had a bingo in there, and early on the dances up here at the top. then somewhere around 2015, maintenance became very high with this building. It was all lumber, and the building was starting to become a fire trap. When they took it down, they had a big excavator up there pulling it down, and it sounded just like balsa wood sprinkling. You could tell it was very dry. And the roads were blacktop then. This is another hotel called the Beagle House, and I do not know where it is. I can't locate that for you.
And my parents, I don't know if it's that hotel or not, but my parents used to say there was one at the foot of the hill, you know where the bridge is.
Yes.
That little,
Yes.
that little chunk.
Oh, right, the little wedge.
Yeah, that hotel, that was the Kelly Hotel.
Okay.
That's on these sandbar maps over there. Everybody follow, that's when you go up Eastern Hill to the left, between the road and the river, there's this little piece of land in there. And that's where they had a hotel. And I heard Ernie Hunton Jr. was telling me that there was a murder there at one time. That's all we know. They had a murder at the Kelly Hotel. Somebody should write a book. This picture was made in 1905, and once more, this is from a postcard by Stan D's Inn, and here's a shot of the hardware store over here. It's before they had a porch on. We have no Methodist church down here yet, and I'm not sure what that steeple is. Later on, I think the Catholic Church was down Church Street, right? They moved it from Church Street up? Yeah. So I'm not sure what that steeple is. If we look at the next one, say this is an early postcard because the messages are on the picture side. But this is a postcard from 1907, and I believe it was taken above where the cemetery is and the hill comes down. It's number 225, I think, if you're a mail person. And it's it's Ellisburg Road and Main Street and 449. It's on that mountain there, which is loaded with pine trees right now. I think that's where they took this picture. But here, you can see the hardware store now looks like it does now. It has the porches on the front. It has this addition was put on, and there's a lot of different things stored in the front of it. They look like barrels. And this looks like, I don't know what it is, it's some farm implement. This house right here is still there. Here it had two porches. This house is here, and this is Church Street going down here. So the Davises and Gonzalez lived down this way someplace, and the Mosers lived down here someplace. And this house, we believe, was a hotel at one time. Over here on